People, deluded, I'm back again. I'm here again with the Gabriel propaganda. Now for me, Arsenal fans, we've been begging for a decent centre-half, you know, and it comes like buses, you know. We've got two new centre-halves now. I say new, Saliba's been here for a year. He's had longer to integrate, but we got him for around 30 million, you know. Got mad potential, we'll double that money, you know. Gabriel the same. Couple years older in that Saliba's 19, he's 22, but similar sort of age, you know, rough diamond. Many aspects of his game that he needs to improve, but again, the prospect of what he can be tomorrow in the 5-year deal he signed at 22, what can he look like at 27? Do you get it? If he's not going to be here at 27, what sort of money could him and Saliba make? You know, what partnership can that be? It's cliche and it's a bit naive, you know, to say that that's going to be our partnership for 10 years, because it's naive to believe that, you know, Saliba is going to be here until 29. He could be, I hope he does if he develops, or that my man's going to be here until 32. Again, I hope that, but that's just not how the world works of football, people, really and truly. But the partnership is crazy. You know, you've got a left footer, you've got a right footer. They can both ball play. They both got time on their hands. They're both man mountains. You know, 6 foot plus, composing. You know, there's many good things to like about them. Focusing not just on Gabriel because he's flavour of the month. You know, there are some points he could learn to improve, like his heading. I would say it's not bad, but I wouldn't have it down as one of his strong points. I hope to be proved wrong just based on what I've seen. He can head up, but it looks like a weakness of his game to a slight degree. In fact, weakness isn't the right degree. It is good. It is always improving, but I think his heading could be slightly more convincing. I think his awareness and his positioning is very good, but his positioning could be a bit better because he will get exposed playing, you know, at this sort of level, with all due respect to Leo and Arsenal, not Champions League club. The main thing for me, I like that he likes to play that difficult diag, but at times he tries it when it doesn't work. But none of these things are really glaring problems. They're not, like I said, his heading isn't mad bad. I'm just saying in comparison to all his attributes and comparing Gabriel to himself, that's where I believe he can improve. But what would you expect? He's 22, signed for 30 million or so, as high as 30 million euros, as low as 25 million euros, you can see. That's what you expect, and it's almost foolproof. Like, for me, I'm keen to see him because based on what I've seen, he's a very resilient man, just based on what I saw on the pitch playing for Leo, whether they've won, lost or drawn. Like, he had a good game against PSG. I think they were losing in that game, and you could see his mentality just by looking at his life. You know, he's had a tough life and a tough upbringing, and he's responded. You know, this is a man who's gone out on loan, played for Dynamo Zagreb, barely played. You know, come from Brazil playing on loan, one appearance, and he still kept his head up and kept working. He actually played against Arsenal's 23s. I was watching that game again. He did all right. It's funny how things work out, people. You know, he went on loan to another Ligue 1 club in Troyes. It didn't really work out. He had to wait a while for his first start at Leo, I believe February 2018. He's had a lot of adversity. This is a man who left Brazil aged 19, who left his family house to uproot to another region in Brazil to pursue his football career aged 13. You know, and you look at his dad and his upbringing, you know, he's got the right people around him. Apparently he was homesick like he would be at 13, and his dad gave him a stern message. He said, listen, you either take this opportunity and do it properly, or you're going to be like me, having to drive these cars and work do this sort of work for a living. And as you lot know, depending on who you are, you know, the economic outlook for many individuals in Brazil is quite tough. So what I like about him is he seems to have a very good mentality and respond very well in the face of adversity. He appears to be a late developer. You know, he made his first appearance for Leo in 2018. You know, you look back at his time in Brazil. I actually think I've got the talking points, people. This is from The Athletic. I believe this is Mateus, a former teammate of his. He said, he had to have a lot of determination because honestly, when he first came here, he wasn't the kind of player who enchants you at very first glance. That's been said about Harry Kane. That's actually been said about Firmino. Look at Kante. Look at those three now. He said he was also born right at the end of the year in December 1997. So he was nearly a year younger than some of the kids in his age group. It meant he had to show great persistence and mature quickly. He had to battle to improve, and his focus helped him a lot. Gabriel did not always appear destined for greatness, but a theme of his career is that when opportunities have arisen, he's taken them. There's one story I always remember. It was fundamental in his development, says Fernandez. When he moved, this is from The Athletic, people. When he moved up into the under-17s age group, we had another talented centre-back. Marcao, was a year older than Gabriel, and so Gabriel was his backup. We had a Copa do Brazil game against Flamengo, but Marcao didn't go to school that week leading up to the match. We really put a big emphasis on studying, so we dropped him. The player's dad was so annoyed, he took him out of the academy for 3 months. Gabriel got an unexpected opportunity and seized it. He stayed in the team even when Marcao returned. It meant that he had 3 years as a starter at under 15 level as one of the youngest players in the under 17 side, and then as one of the more experienced players. There was no interruption. I think that really accelerated his development. When he hit 17 or so, he started to turn into a different kind of player. He became a reference point and started to stand out to other centre-backs. By the time he had started in the under 20 side, he already had a certain status within the club. People saw that he was a real player. He started to be observed by Brazil scouts and was later called up to the under 20 team. So he's a late developer. And as a centre-half, you know, I won't say all centre-halves are late developers because that's not true, but they come into their game kind of late, you know. You look at 26, you should be in your prime, but for me, I typically see 27, 28, even bordering on 30s when these centre-halves look different level. And with the theme of him being a late developer, you know, like I said, there's raw elements of his game that needs coaching out where we need to be a bit more calmer with him and things like that. Do you get it? So like I said, sometimes I think he forces passes, late developer, heading is an area that can improve, and positioning. But there's many plus points. He's my sort of defender. He loves to be aggressive. He likes to feel his attackers. He likes to try and intercept it. You know, he's not very easily beaten. You know, for a big guy, he's good with the ball at his feet. He's not looking all clumsy. You know, he's quite focused for a young man. He's barely loses concentration in games. There's many good things to say about him, really and truly. And for me, the best thing is he knows how to respond to adversity. Adversity when he went to Lille and it weren't happening. When he went on 2 loans and they were ultimately fruitless. You know, adversity, not like I just said with that segment, under 17s team or youth team not having a look at, nobody's counting on you. No one probably believes you even have a career as a pro bowler, but he kept going. Do you get it? And it's that sort of resilience that sees you out, people. And I like that he's a bit fearless, because whatever you say about him, you know, he's left his family home age 13, 14 to start his journey. He's left Brazil age 19, and now at 22 he's up in roots and leaving for England again. Well, for another country in England. It's crazy, people. It is crazy. And big up his dad, man, because he, you know, Gabriel almost talked himself out of being a professional footballer. Apparently, you know, due to his hard work at just 16, you know, he signed his first pro deal, and obviously at 18, he had already made a first team appearance for Ava, the team he's playing at, and you know, the rest is history. It all went pretty fast. So he's lived quite a life in his 22 years on this earth, and in his short footballing career, he's definitely done a lot. You know, he's lived in France, he's lived in other regions, Dynamo Zagreb, that's Croatia, forgive me if I'm wrong. He's lived in Croatia or whatever. He's lived in France. He's about to live in England. He lived in 2 different regions of Brazil. So he's fearless, man, and that's the sort of thing we need. Now, it isn't always the best logic to compare. You know, if we look at most centre-halves, their stats are going to be better than Arsenal's. But it's an open book. Many aspects of how we defend is poor, you know. As a team, conceding set pieces, failing to, you know, hold on to leads, dropping points from winning positions, the amount of shots that Leno and Martinez have statistically faced on their goal, you know, the amount of shots we've allowed and crosses. There's many different goals we conceded from set pieces. There's many different collective and individual fragments that you can use to piece together to see how poor our defending is. Arteta's improving us slightly, but you get the point. So again, looking at Arsenal's defenders or comparing players to Arsenal's defenders, case study isn't always the best sample size pool to look at. But Gabriel, you know, courtesy of Shakwa, compared to other Arsenal defenders in the 2019-20 season, he ranked first for interceptions at 136, first for tackles with 41. He won all of his duels comparison to Arsenal and put him at first with 224. He was first for duels. Duels won, he won 150 of them, again first. Aerials, 128, first. Aerials won, first with 83. Recoveries, he's third with 22. So again, what does that tell you about the recovery? Is his positioning always spot on? Do you know? Because that is your recovery. It's about seeing danger and reading it. Is his reading of the game perfect? Probably not. Again, it's dangerous with stats because I don't know what it sounds stupid, but what quantifies as a tackle, you know. There's also stats that have come out in relation to Gabriel and Saliba in relation to they've never been dribbled past. Now, again, I don't know how they're quantifying them stats, but that's a lie. Because if you look at Saliba versus Mets, Diallo tore him a new one. That's a game he would have learned a lot from. He definitely got dribbled past. So, again, I don't like to you look at stats in isolation and stuff because stats, I like stats. I think when you use context and you use different pieces of a puzzle, stats can help you, but you lot know in today's day and age they can be manipulated and they can inflate things. I'm not saying they are, but you know, he ranks third for recovery. I'm not too sure of who the other two Arsenal players that are ahead of him at for such, but yeah, in relation to him in Liga during the 1920 season, and his tackling, he made 55 attempted tackles, making 41. He was dribbled past 7 times and he made 7 fouls. So again, that's quite clean. In relation to Saliba's tackling during the same period, he made 24 tackles, attempted 24, made 19, gave away 0 fouls, and was dribbled past 5 times. So yeah, man, he will make fouls in the Premier League. Like, I need my defenders to make fouls. There's sometimes we need to do that, but so that one there is not a thingy to read too much into. Shakwa also said, and again, it's important to remember what pure actually means because I don't, but they said highest pure tackle success rate during the 2019-20 Liga season. Saliba was first with 79.2%, so it tells you it doesn't dive in. Dennis Bain, 77.8%. Georgis Gagnon, I think he plays for Rennes, I could be wrong, with 72.2%. Again, you lot know me, I can't pronounce nothing, so I've butchered the last 2 names I've said. And Gabriel was there for 74.6. So our 2 new centre-halves are in the top 4 defenders in Liga for this. You got our Saliba with first with 79.2%. And then you've got Gabriel with 74.6%. So read into that what you will. I don't know what pure means exactly. So it's a bit of a difficult one, people. What exactly that means. But we'll have to see. And one thing I like as well is his mentality. Again, there's very few things more important than football, but there are things that are. I was reading an Athletic article and it spoke about, sadly, early on in his career when he was about 18, 19, he was playing a football game, and long story short, a member, someone close to him died, and he still played the game, and he said this is what they would have wanted. They would have wanted to see me on TV. Now again, if he didn't play that game, it doesn't make him any less or more determined, because again, this is a death, but this tells me, you know, he's cut of a different cloth. You know, at the same day, football is very serious to me. Football means the world, but at the same time, if I was a coach, I have to tell players football isn't important. It's not. It is important. People will think I'm a hypocrite saying that, but people that know football understand what I'm saying. Is very few things, if anything, are more important than football. Football is more important than life than death. You know, look at my life. I can't do anything right. My life is a mess, but I love football. Do you get it, people? But by the same token, football isn't that deep. You've played bad, forgive yourself. You know, you play for a club and you move to a club and it hasn't worked out, just move again. These things aren't that deep. Do you get it, people? And it's about having that balance. But shout out to his life, man. Shout out to his mentality and how he handles his life. Apparently, when Gabriel was a teenager at Brazilian side Aval, he lost someone very dear to him. It was one of his close friends, a kid who had been brought up like a brother. This was explained by Marquinhos, who is now a director and a former teammate of his. Before kickoff, I asked him if he was sure he was fine to play. We all felt a bit uncomfortable with the situation because we can imagine what was going through his head. But he said, no, I'm fine. This is what my friend would have wanted. He loves seeing me on TV and he'll be watching over me today. It's facts, people. I mean, look at that character. Again, it wouldn't mean any more or less character if he elected not to play, but this is cut from a different cloth sort of stuff, people. I keep mentioning he left home at 14, so I might as well specify what I mean. Apparently, age 14, he travelled over 400 miles to join Aval in Florianopolis. By age 19, he had moved to Europe, and a year later, he was on loan in freezing Zagreb. Gabriel, however, was reluctant to move. The trial was his first time away from home, and he struggled. When he returned to Sao Paulo to collect his belongings, he explained to his father that he wanted to stay at home. Marcelo, a truck driving delivery man, issued his son with an ultimatum. If you don't go back, you'll work with me every morning. Suddenly, it didn't seem so bad. He had so that's what you see. And you see his dad now. You see, I'm sure you've all seen the pictures of him and his dad wearing the Arsenal shirts. It's quite adorable, really and truly. And you know, for Gabriel, again, I can't even imagine the sort of things he's been through. And money isn't important, but you know, you'd imagine through playing at Lille and now this move to Arsenal, poverty isn't a thing. You look at Martinez has spoken about this before. Poverty, and you know, his dad could probably quit that job probably working ridiculous hours for not that much money. Economically in Brazil, it is like that. You know, the mentality is different. You get it? This is a guy who's coming to play for keeps. Yes, I want him to play great for Arsenal and things, but this is a man who, you know, is trying to seize the future he can have, because it could have been taken away from him. He could have been driving trucks. You know, it could have went a different way. It's all fun and games when you're Gab Jesus or Neymar, like you're destined to play football. You know, well, even Gab Jesus had adversity, and so did Neymar. But Gabriel, it could have went different. You know, his story reminds me a bit of Paulinho. It's a bit similar. Paulinho had a serious time trying to be a footballer, people. So we'll have to see what happens, man. But I'm hopeful with Gabriel and Saliba, man. Hopefully that can be our partnership for a decade. But for now, I've got nothing more to add. I'm going to get out of here. It's always a pleasure. DG, I'm out.